Serhiy Zhadan is widely considered to be one of the most important young writers in Ukraine. He has received several international literature prizes and has twice won BBC Ukraine Book of the Year award. His poetry collection called What We Live For, What We Die For. It is an introduction to original poetic voice from Eastern Ukraine with deep roots in unique cultural landscape of post-Soviet devastation. Needle. Anton, 32 years old, status includes living with his parents. Orthodox, but doesn't attend church. University graduate, studied English. Worked as tattoo artist. Had a signature style, if you can call it that. Many a local passed under his sharp needle and skillful hand. When all this began, he talked a lot about politics and history, started going into rallies, argued with his friends. Friends took offense, clients disappeared. They were afraid, didn't understand, left town. You truly experience a person touching them with a needle. A needle pricks, a needle stretches. Under the warm metal, the texture of female skin becomes so supple, and the radiant canvas of male skin so tough. Piercing through a person's outer membrane, you release velvety drops of blood, carve out angels' wings on a submissive surface of the world. So crave him, tattoo artist. We are called to fill this world with a meaning, with color. Crave this shell, tattoo artist, which hides souls and diseases, what we live for, what we die for. Someone said he was shot at a roadblock one morning, weapon in his hand, somehow accidentally. No one really knows why. He was buried in a mass grave. That's how they all were buried. His personal effects were turned over to his parents. His status was never updated. One day some bastard will definitely write a heroic poem about this. One day another bastard will say there is no reason to write about this at all. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion to the Ukraine, the ranks of Ukrainian heavenly defenders have been replenished by the people of art. Actors, artists, sculptors, psychologists and historians. Organization called PEN Ukraine keeps tracking losses among cultural activists whose stories appear in the information field. PEN Ukraine, PEN is abbreviation of the English word poetic, playwrights, essayists and novelists. PEN became one of the first international human rights organizations as well as the first International Writers Association. As of November 2023, PEN Ukraine collected 79 names of people of art killed as soldiers by Russian occupiers at the Russian-Ukrainian war. But there are more persons to be added, unfortunately. We urge you to come closer and look into these faces. There is these people of arts killed by Russian occupiers. Please take a look. I also want to read you a joint appeal of 19 European intellectuals to the peoples of Europe that have been issued December 11 this year. Alarm bells and ringing. While Ukrainian forces are struggling on the front line, equipped for a long war of attrition, Russia is cranking up its arms production. Europe is falling behind on its promise of ammunition deliveries, and the United States, with its upcoming election, is threatening to end its military aid. Against this backdrop, some believe that the most reasonable option is to force Ukraine to make concessions and end the war. Today we think tankers who have been working on European security for many years make a solemn appeal to the citizens of Europe and their leaders. Abandoning Ukraine would render Europe terribly vulnerable. we would not return to the Europe of 2021. We would instead fall back to a state of permanent insecurity. Europe would be profoundly weakened by the loss of the Ukrainian bulwark and the loss of mutual trust between European states. And we would face an empire emboldened by the demonstration that it can strengthen itself through aggression. It would be a return to the Europe of 1913s. Abandonment is not inevitable. Europe does possess the economic resources to confront Russia. The most urgent measure is to coordinate a vast industrial mobilization to supply more arms and ammunition to Ukraine, and eventually to outproduce Russia. The European Union in particular has shown how successful it can be when it pools its resources through the joint procurement of COVID-19 vaccines. In 2021, it had signed 71 billion worth of contracts securing up to 4.6 billion doses. This example must be followed up today. In this way, Russia and its supporters will also understand that European Union also has staying power. If we fail to make armament efforts today, we would have to make them tomorrow. And if Russia achieves its objectives in Ukraine under significantly more difficult and threatening conditions, and we would have lost precious time. If we commit ourselves fully to gratitude Ukrainians, a European future, Russia would be no match for us. Russia's strength rests largely on our intentions. In these speeches, known as the Philippics, the ancient orator demonstrates called the Athenians not to remain passive in the face of King Philip II of Macedonia's expansionism. He urged them that they support those who are under Macedonian's attack and they mount their resistance by producing weapons and mobilizing the whole of Greece. For Demospheres, that was a stake and the survival of Greece, of free and democratic cities. For us, the stakes are just existential. The survival of a free and democratic Europe depends on Ukrainian victory today. This joint appeal was signed by 19 European intellectuals, including business analytics, university professors, researchers, directors of civil institutions, and state security institutions, foreign relations institutions of Spain, Belgium, Poland, France, Luxembourg, Finland, Germany, Slovakia, Italy, Estonia, Ukraine, and Sweden as well. This appeal can be found at the website eurointegration.com.ua. This is the major independent Ukrainian media called Ukrainska Pravda, dedicated solely to the process of European integration of Ukraine. Please take a look at these faces.